What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining me on these analysis. We're going to be looking at MSTR, Bitcoin, looking at different indicators and different charts today. So today was a pretty solid day. MSTR finished at 455.90. Currently in post-market hours, we're sitting at 455.02. And it was a 3.0%, 3.07% day for MSTR. And if you were in MSTX or MSTU, then you made 6% on the day. We'll actually touch on MSTU or MSTX. I'll probably use MSTX for the example, just to talk about MSTX a little bit, because somebody was asking about it in the comment section. So we'll just run through it really quick towards the end. But let's get straight into it. So when you take a look here on the monthly, you can see we're actually looking pretty solid. This is one of the better months that we've seen in the past couple months. Last time we saw a month like this was in April, and prior to that was all the way in November. So really, it's only been 3 solid months so far in this entire range here. We had this really good one so far, this very good one, and this one. This one was okay. So hopefully the momentum can continue and it's not just a temporary move and then we end up coming back. Especially with the way we closed today, that was a very bullish close. Of course, on the weekly, we still need to see a close in this area for the weekly. We need to close here or higher. I think that would be very, very bullish. At the minimum, we just want to close at least at 445 so we can retest the following week and then potentially push up higher. If not, then I could also see us chopping. You know, maybe we chop for a little bit before we make a touch here and then continue up. So we'll see. Of course, we're just waiting on Bitcoin, really. Bitcoin's been making some strides upward. We pushed up earlier today, and then we ended up getting a little bit of rejection, which we'll go over later in the video. We are looking pretty good. The daily was very, very nice. We almost closed above these wicks. I was hoping that we could get the close right above here, but I mean, that's close enough, really. But we'll see how it acts tomorrow. We were pushing up in after hours initially. We're at like 458 or 459, something like that. And now we're sitting at 455, but I don't really think it's too much of a big deal yet. Bitcoin's kind of just going sideways, chopping a little bit, maybe creating a little bull flag before continuing up. We are bouncing off of that upward sloping channel. But once we get that move to the upside, then we could potentially see this move here that we've been waiting on. And when you look here, this level was key, and we actually got a close here. So really, we've only had 2 candles close outside of here. It was this one here in November 20th, and this one here. That's it. This candle and this one that we just got. Those are the 2 highest closes that we've had in this entire, recent price action. So I think it's pretty bullish right now, especially closing within these wicks here. It is looking pretty good. When you take a look to the left-hand side, this is a clean move all the way up to 530. I'm not saying that we're going to just absolutely skyrocket there. If we get a move on Bitcoin and this thing gets a little bit of volume, it could definitely happen. Quicker than we're anticipating, because like I said, it's a clean move here. We fell down within one day. We opened at 535 that day. We pushed up 1.3%, and we dropped 31% in one day, and then we ended up finishing down 25% in one day. That is absolutely insane. You won't see that anywhere else, honestly. That's crazy. And I mean, I would love to see the volume like that. I want to see that crazy volatility, but we're slowly getting there. We're slowly pushing our way up, and we hopefully can continue this momentum. But overall, today was a pretty solid day, in my opinion. Weekly SMAs ramping up. This thing is really starting to go vertical, as you can see here, which is nice. That's what we want to see, to continue that trend upward. Just in case we get some kind of pullback, we'll have support on the weekly on that 20. And here we got our 20 pushing above our 50, which we already said. We have had some pretty significant moves after we've seen the 20 push above the 50, like we saw right over here. saw a nice move up. Doesn't happen every time, but sometimes when you get the 20 pushing above the 50, you can see that you get pretty significant moves. So hopefully the trend continues. We have been holding our 200 pretty well. We got a couple bounces in February, March, April, and we've been holding pretty well above that region ever since. From the 200 day, we are currently up 38%. So to give you a reference of that, you look here, 38% is just like one of these moves right here, the beginning of the move at 165. So you can see that at some point in the middle of the cycle or the middle of this move, you can see we were up, 90%. Here we were up 130, and we'll see the blow off top. We made it all the way up to, roughly 235%. If we're going to see a significant move, then this is really just the beginning. If we're going to get this big move that we're hoping for, maybe we end up reaching that midline that we've been talking about. And I think we could find some resistance there. Hopefully we can reach it if we can get that momentum that we are anticipating for MSTR. Of course, we know that it hasn't started off like the other moves, but I would imagine if we do reach here, we should find some kind of resistance, at least a little bit of chop. If we then continue on higher, we should at least get stopped there temporarily. When you compare it to these moves here, so if you look at this breakout point, we're going to go from, I guess, the candle that kind of broke out. So we'll start here and we'll compare this candle to this candle and we'll see where we're at. So from the bottom of the, I guess you could call it the breakout candle, you can see 3 candles. So including this one, we were up 44%. And then here where we're currently at, we're up 23%. So to put a reference in that, if we were up 44%, how we did on the last move, we would be sitting at 536 right now, but we're sitting at 455. So as you can see, it is lagging behind on this move. It's still bullish. It's still been pushing up. We've still been making gains. Of course, we want to see something like this, but just a reference to see where things are going. And when you compare this move down here to this move, this was, let's see, this was 4, and then we'll go 4 here. So, okay, from that bottom to this point, pushed up around 82% on those 4 candles. And then here, we pushed up around 82% off of those 4 candles. So hopefully this piece right here begins to catch up to this move. As you can see, we were on track with this move here. And if you compare it to this move, then we're obviously way behind because we had a very significant move. Just on one weekly candle, you can see that we made 57%. So that's not even, that's double this this entire month, the past 4 weeks. That's double that in just 1 week. So that was some crazy volatility, and that's what we're hoping to see again, of course. That's why we're all in it. On the weekly EMA, we're still holding well above it. We got a nice bounce off of it, and we've been pushing up pretty solid ever since. We're holding well above our golden zone. I'm going to leave that on there, and I'm going to take this one off here since we're focused on higher targets now. But the golden zone still has to be established because we are holding above it, but let's see if we actually get a retest before pushing up higher, which might coincide with another touch on the 8 EMA for the weekly. Hopefully we don't. I don't even want us to touch it. I want us to just continue rallying like this, but we always have to be mindful of that. On the daily, we're holding above it. We haven't touched it in a few days, since Wednesday, July 9th. So maybe we see some kind of retracement, or we kind of trend sideways and the moving average, the EMA, catches up. We touch, and then we continue that trend upward. Volume today has dwindled down a little bit. We did see, higher volume the past couple trading days. As you can see here, we had higher volume these 2 days, and even the red day. And now we had a lower volume day today. Hopefully it can kick back up like we saw over here. This is kind of in line with where we were saying the volume has been kind of low at for the most part. It was a little bit higher, but it's kind of in line for the most part. But these two candles here were exceptionally higher than all of this area over here. Weekly RSI is looking good. We are pushing to that overbought territory at 70. Last time we saw that was over here, and we saw very significant moves to the upside. Hopefully the trend can continue and this one doesn't disappoint. Hopefully we don't see something where it pushes up ever so slightly and then just come right back down. That's definitely not what we want to see. We want to see a nice green filled area like we saw over here twice. And here on the daily, same concept. We are pushing up higher. It is looking pretty nice. We are about to make it to the overbought territory. We had a little fake out over here where we pushed up into overbought territory, had a head and shoulders, and pushed down. Over on Bitcoin, we are playing off of this trend line that's been established from the 2021 highs. As you can see, we got rejected off of it multiple times, and then we got a weekly close last week, retesting off of it early on in the week, which is a nice sign. We are fighting with it a little bit. We pushed down to 116, and now we've been holding it pretty well. Hopefully the trend can continue upward, and we can continue that move higher. Right now, sitting at 118.846. I was saying earlier on a post that after this close here and a retest that we should see 120s, and we did, but ever so slightly. You can see we hit 120, but for like 2 seconds, and then we fell right back. We got rejected after hitting 120. The reason I said 120 is because of this zone right here. And I was expecting some kind of resistance, but I didn't think we were going to get rejected so hard that quick. I thought we'd have a little bit of a fighting chance, but nothing really. But now, remember guys, I was saying we have to keep in mind about that head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, potential right shoulder. So if this thing continues to chop and we don't get any kind of move higher for a retest and push up higher, then that's going to open up the idea of us chopping, and then now we're going to have that head and shoulders play out, and once we break that neckline, now you're going to have the measured move to lower targets. Because if that were to happen and you measure out that neckline, for instance, if it's over here and we measure that down, that takes us to lower targets at 108, 109, maybe 110, maybe to this region right here, something like that. Doesn't have to be exact, but you can kind of see what I'm saying. Be aware of that. Like I said, I hope it doesn't play out, but there is a possibility that it could be playing out. We did get rejected off of the 1272. I'll pull that now off this fib. Like I said last time, you can see we got rejected right off of that perfectly, off of this leg here, not this one here. We got rejected off the 1272, and that's exactly where I think we got rejected. Oh no, we didn't even make it up there today. But that was the initial rejection. So hopefully we can push back up there, break through that, and use that as support to continue the momentum to the upside. I do think if we can continue to hold this, it'll be a good sign. We did close underneath it yesterday, so hopefully within the next 14 minutes, we close above this region, retest it, and then we can continue pushing up higher. I think we do have a sufficient amount of retests. The more we retest it, though, the weaker it's going to get, and eventually, if we continue chopping on it, we'll eventually fall through it. But hopefully we can get that close here, retest, and then we start fighting with these wicks to eventually make it to that middle region right there, the middle of the entire range. On a larger time frame, we have seen tops in 2017, 21, essentially 2025. This is a very, very bullish case, so I wouldn't hang my hat on this and say this is the primary scenario that's going to play out. This is like the perfect scenario kind of situation. I would not bet that that's going to happen, but it could. So it's not off the table at all. Definitely not off the table. And then the bottoms you've seen in 18, 22, potentially 26. And then, like I said previously, we've had a leg up to the top, down, midline, bottom, and then we've had a leg up, down, midline, potentially bottom, before ending this move, and then maybe we restart this entire thing again. And the next move after a move down here would actually be that move to the top of the range. And then we see the bottom of the range, mid of the range, and so on. The pattern continues. I don't know. That's just my observation right here. This is a smaller version of this. This is an elongated version. This one started in May 2017, ended in March 2020. This one started in April 2020, and it's still going on right now. So we'll see where it goes. It's going to probably play out all the way till 2026 when we see that bottom. So if we were to find our resistance here, and this is the top for the cycle, then that would kind of line up with that idea of us, finding rejection off of this midline here, the midline of the channel. And maybe we find a push up here, get rejected, and that's the end of the move. Of course, I would love to see it break above, hold, and push up higher. We have to keep both scenarios in mind. You have to be open to both sides. If not, then you can really get hurt in the markets if you're not open to both sides. I'm going to go over to MSTX. MSTX compared to MSTR, we'll go over some comparisons really quick. So from the bottom, the recent bottom, we pushed up 200%. So that was from April 7th to May 5th. And when you look here on MSTR, you can see that we pushed about 83% in that same move. And then this most recent leg that we just had right here, you can see we pushed 27%, and MSTX has pushed up about 55 to 56%. So the moves have been looking pretty nice. It's looking pretty good. We'll see where it takes us, of course, but it is looking pretty solid. We are pushing above this area right here. I mean, I don't really do TA on the leveraged versions of stocks, but you can see theoretically breaking this should give us a clean move up to this region here. But again, like I said, I don't think this chart is really as important. It's mostly MSTR. MSTX chart is kind of just, it's there just for looks, I guess, in my opinion. Here on tether dominance, we got that weekly close that we were talking about, perfect close underneath the key level. And we were saying this could ignite a rally if we continue falling. And it looks like we're getting ready to break through. Hopefully Bitcoin starts to push back up. We are sitting at 427, and we did break underneath this wick, but we need to break this wick right here. We did push all the way down to 422, and then we got rejected. Hopefully that trend can continue. This is looking pretty bearish right now, and I do think if we can break that 421, it's going to open up the idea of us touching 412. And if we can hold that, then I think we can see lower levels, which should ignite a very nice rally for Bitcoin. And I'll overlay Bitcoin really quick so you can just see the inverse correlation really quickly. So you can see that happening right there. You can see Bitcoin running upward at the same time that tether dominance is going downward. When we look at ETH Bitcoin, you can actually see this thing is actually ripping to the upside. I didn't even notice. Yeah, it's a nice move to the upside. We haven't seen anything like this at all. The move has just been absolutely getting crushed. When you take a look here, these fibs, we haven't even been making it to a 382 on these moves. Even on this leg here, we're going to exclude that. We didn't even make it to the 382. Oh, we almost did. But we just broke the 382, and we're actually making it to the 0.5 to the 618. This is the first time we're even testing that level in this downtrend. So this could be some kind of move, hopefully to the upside, to get altcoins going. And when you look on the daily, you can actually see we kind of have like I guess, inverse head and shoulders. It kind of looks like one. Um, Inverse head and shoulders. You got your left shoulder, you got your head, and you got your right shoulder here. So this thing could potentially be forming that. And let's see what we get. And if we just do a rough estimate for where the neckline is, roughly in that area, breakout point, it takes you up here to higher levels, some kind of cup and handle as well. Could be something like that. And then our handle, which is a bullish sign to the upside. So that is looking pretty bullish right now. We'll see where it takes us, of course, but it's a nice start for sure. Where ETH Bitcoin has been incredibly bearish this entire time, and we actually have a little sign of life coming out here on ETH Bitcoin for the first time in a while. And we just got our daily close, so we're sitting at 0.17 right now. So let's see how the next day goes. See if we can push it up even higher to 0.18, 0.19, and so on. Here on Bitcoin Dominance, we'll just go over this really quick. This is the second day that Bitcoin Dominance is actually going down. Surprisingly enough, it's dropped 1%. Two engulfing candles back-to-back days, and it's about to close in 7 minutes, which is pretty bullish for altcoins. Remember, Bitcoin can go up and Bitcoin Dominance can go in either direction. If Bitcoin Dominance is dropping, all that means is that altcoins are doing better than Bitcoin. That's all it means. And if Bitcoin Dominance is going up, that means Bitcoin's doing better than altcoins. So it can always go in both directions, like I said. Bitcoin can drop 50% and Bitcoin Dominance can still rally. Because if Bitcoin drops 50%, but the average altcoin drops 90%, Bitcoin Dominance is going to go up. And if Bitcoin goes up 50% and altcoins go up 20%, Bitcoin Dominance still goes up, and vice versa. If Bitcoin were to drop 50% and altcoin only dropped 20%, then Bitcoin Dominance would go down, but that's not going to happen. Just a quick little reference on that. I do think if we can break this wick, we can see that region at 60. I don't know how likely it is though. It has been ripping up higher nonstop. I mean, eventually it will, end this move to the upside. Maybe once we break that trend line, maybe it's a little bit tighter there. So maybe once we can break through here, retest, and then fall through, that'll be the beginning of one of these significant moves. And that's when we usually get our crazy altcoin season. And that's when you get everybody and their mother investing in crypto. That's when you'll see the Coinbase app being ranked in the top 10. But for now, that has not happened yet. Crypto is still boring, and Bitcoin's at all-time highs, and nobody really cares right now. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on these videos. I always appreciate your support, and drop a comment. I'll see you guys in the next one.